Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome to Arts and Lifestyle Wednesday, presented by Cinematic Visions. It's time for another edition of Danny and Tim's Music Scene, and it seems unusual that we can continue to have so much fun talking about music when there aren't any real shows to talk about, which at one point in time was at the heartbeat of this particular podcast. But music has dispensed in so many varieties and has so much history and so much interesting content, lyrically and otherwise, that there's always fun things to talk about. And on this edition, we'll get into a new album by Bob Dylan, a little competition Tim Finn spurred on his Facebook page about two iconic songs. We'll talk about some bands that maybe a lot of people favor that we don't necessarily do the same. We'll work in a whole lot of different things, including stories about Foreigner and The Doors, and some information about things that are going on now. Artists like Common getting involved in the Black Lives Matter movement with fresh material, and there's always a lot of stuff to talk about with Tim Finn. There's a lot of laughs. There's a lot of insight, and that's why I enjoy it so much. That's why we do it each and every other Wednesday. Danny and Tim's Music Scene. It comes your way next, right here on Arts and Lifestyles Wednesday, which is presented by Cinematic Visions. Cinematic Visions has been an affordable solution for professional media production in Kansas City since 2003, offering award-winning video production and creation, as well as a wide array of digital and social media management services. From planning, scripting, filming, editing, and post-production, to delivering your product to a watching world, Cinematic Visions will provide professional and affordable services for you and your business with the necessary return on investment to make it all worthwhile. Cinematic Visions' goal is to unlock the power of storytelling through video and a strong online presence for your company. Beyond the numbers, they want to inspire and evoke your clients to feel and act. Let my friends at Cinematic Visions embed your brand where it belongs, in your customers' minds. You can find them online at cinematicvisions.com or with a quick phone call at 816-600-6300.
Hi, this is Matt Llewellyn from 23rd Street Brewery. Thank you, Kansas City, for supporting all the local restaurants during this time of crisis. Starting Thursday, May 21st, the 23rd Street Brewery will be open from 11 to 9 for carry-out and delivery service, and 4 to 9 for dine-in and patio service, if you can believe that. We're open. During this phase, we will adhere to the Douglas County recommendations for restaurants, and please see our website or our Facebook page for details. Most importantly, we want all of our guests and staff to stay safe, and together, we will all get through this.
My friends at Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture are among the most accomplished and trusted clinics in the nation. Only one clinic has been rated in the top 5 in all 3 categories of chiropractic care, acupuncture, and rehabilitation, and that clinic is ASFCA. They have locations in Olathe, Overland Park, Prairie Village, Belton, and Lee Summit. Doctors Brad and Christina Woodle and their accomplished team of doctors and therapists will treat you like family, for the simplest of injuries to the most complicated conditions to avoid surgery. Whether you are seeking treatment for an injury or just looking to stay healthy and fit, this is the place for you. And it's been the place for me for almost 2 years now. I've been a strenuous daily exerciser for years, and as time goes on, that takes its toll. But regular appointments at Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture have helped keep me ticking on, and even as the years pile up, their regular care has allowed me to keep to my regimen and feel great. If you want to feel the same, give them a call or visit them at asfca.com/Danny. They accept all insurances and are open Monday through Saturday, and make sure to mention that Danny Clinkscale recommended Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture.
If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at danny@dannyclinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you.
Tim, we certainly continue with our interesting times, and I wanted to start out with the protests and the racial intolerance protests and things like that. Oftentimes at times like this, music and musicians are at their best when there's a movement of sorts. I don't know if I've really seen that much momentum in that regard so far, but I've seen some things from Common and some other things. Where do you think music can fit in these particular times? And do you agree that a lot of times during protest eras, maybe, either, racial times during the 60s or the Vietnam War and such, the role that music can play?
Well, absolutely. I mean, it played its role was paramount in the 60s, the protest movement, everyone from Dylan and Peter, Paul, and Mary, Crosby, Stills, and Nash, and Neil Young, and so there were plenty of, even the Beatles too, artists and songwriters reacting to what was going on in the streets, Vietnam War, all of that, and it contributed, I think significantly to, how history played out. Today, I think you're seeing it, just given the circumstances, like bands aren't touring, artists are delaying or postponing release of new music because they don't want to put it out there and have it just kind of sit there, inertly, and because they're not able to tour on it. So I guess I don't feel like it's disconcerted, but I do think that they're finding other ways to speak out, whether it's on social media, or just releasing a statement or showing support for Black Lives Matter. So it's out there. I guess if there have been, what could be definitive songs released about it, I haven't heard them yet.
Yeah, I agree with that. You referenced Bob Dylan, and he's got a new record out, and obviously when such an iconic artist as Bob Dylan puts out new material, it usually doesn't happen that often, and it's highly anticipated. And in this case, it seems like the actual official release is coming up this week. I'm not sure I heard a song from it or not. I heard a song I wasn't familiar with, and it sounded new, but given your description of what some people's reaction is, I'm not sure I heard the right song. But anyway, he's got a new record coming out Friday, and the initial response, or the stuff that's leaking out right now, is pretty positive.
Yeah, the LA Times just published a glowing review. The headline is Bob Dylan's Rough and Rowdy Ways is a savage pulp noir masterpiece. And the writer goes on to really herald this is one of Dylan's best records lyrically in a long time. It's very it's kind of epic and playful, and it goes into really weird, sordid places. Like there's a song called My Version of You, and it's about him visiting morgues and monasteries looking for body parts. Like he's going to assemble some Frankenstein-like monster. And the writer also says you get the feeling that he's sort of winking and smiling about all this because he knows that people like us are going to go very deep into his lyrics and analyze them forensically for hidden meanings when he's just kind of being playful. So this writer really loved the lyrics, and where he's going with them, or where he went with them. And so musically, it's really one of his best records in a while. Also, melodies. Although he describes his voice as like a broken wheeze or something like that through most of the songs. But he also says that there are others where, yes, there's melody, there's groove, there's something you can like get inside the song and groove with it and sway with it. So it sounds really interesting. The only song I've heard was when he released several. Back in March, it was a 17-minute song that sort of gets into the Kennedy assassination. It's called Murder Most Foul, and it required at least like 3 listenings for me to really wrap my head around it, what it was about. But typical of him, he giving us a sample of the new record and gives us a song that's as long as 3 songs, and plenty to analyze. But I think parts of the record are like that, but others are a little more normal.
Right. Well, a little more normal is not necessarily where he goes a lot of times. And you referenced something there that, we sometimes do delve deeply into the things that are done. I was watching a documentary about L.A. Woman last night with my wife, the Doors album, and it was really good. But it was done in 2010. One guy that they had on a lot, it was Jim Ladd, who is a disc jockey who actually still has a show on Sirius on the Deep Tracks channel. And he's one of these guys who, famous L.A. disc jockey, but he's one of these guys who like sort of over chats things a little bit and gets deep. And it reminds me of a story, and I don't know if I've told it on this platform before. There was a guy, it wasn't Jim Ladd, but it was somebody like that, and they were interviewing Foreigner on one of those late-night shows back in the day, And so they we're talking about the song Urgent, which has a memorable, I think it's actually one of their better songs, but a memorable saxophone solo by Junior Walker in it. And so the guy is getting extra deep with Lou Gramm or whoever he was talking to, and he's like, and he says, you've got this great sax solo with Junior Walker. Guys, you must relate musically, or how did that connection happen with Junior Walker, and how did you get him, and are you guys tight or whatever? And Lou Gramm just pauses and goes, "We paid him." So I think sometimes, we do tend to, it's almost the stereotypical type thing of overanalyzing, and so Dylan probably doing a little bit of a wink at that. But have you seen that Doors documentary about the making of the record L.A. Woman?
I have not. It was like a classic album.
Yeah, it was one of those classic album type things. It's definitely worth seeing. And one thing that I took away from it, I really, at one point or another, was a very big fan of the Doors. Somehow that's faded a little, maybe through over listening or something like that. If I go 3 years without hearing "L.A. Woman," I think it's the greatest thing I've ever heard. But it's been wildly overplayed. To start off with, what's your general feeling about the Doors, the iconic band?
Yeah, I was a big fan when they were big. I would have been in grade school, I think, and I loved a lot of their songs. Maybe I'm with you. Like, it hasn't aged really well for me, and I like some of the deeper album cuts more than the songs that play all the time on classic rock radio. But I mean, they were influential, and I've been part of or just followed threads on Facebook or other places where people are talking about them, and I get a sense that they were probably more influential than I imagine them to be or think of them. So maybe I watch that documentary and just re-explore them. But I kind of had thought of them as something like a novelty because Jim Morrison was just so unique in his own way. I always thought maybe a little over the top being who he was. But maybe, there's probably more to them than I'm giving them credit for. So they get so much respect from people whose music opinions I respect. So I guess maybe that's my answer. I need to re-explore them again because there was really nobody like them then, and I can't think of anyone who's close to them now.
Yeah, I think I would highly recommend it because I think I did get a greater appreciation because I did think of it as just sort of a phase in my life where we were kindred spirits on this particular topic. But one takeaway I got was what a fantastic performer and how underrated the contributions of Robbie Krieger, the guitarist and the guy who either wrote or co-wrote many of the songs. And he seems like somebody who maybe hasn't gotten his due through musical history.
Yeah, the whole band was really good. I mean, and they were obviously overshadowed by their front guy because everyone would be. To give us a local spin, Tech Nine, his label and company's called Strange Music because he's a huge Doors fan. People are strange. That's where he got the name for his label. And they played on one of his tracks like 3 or 4 years ago.
Cool.
So yeah, he's one of those people who, when I asked him like why the Doors, and he just went off on how great they were musically, as much musically as they were because of Jim Morrison.
Yeah, no question that he hogged the headlines, and the thing that was good about this particular documentary was really more about the making of the thing and the music, and they had. I haven't watched as many of these maybe as you have, but they had one of the knob turner guys on, and it was cool. I mean, he was he was saying here's this just the piano part here, and here's just the backing vocal, and they would punch a button, and that's always a fun aspect of it as well. Well, you talked about lyrics with Dylan and things like that. And something you explored on Facebook, I think everybody had a little bit of fun with. Hardly a lyric, I guess you would say, but you put up a pitched battle between Simon and Garfunkel's The Boxers and their Lie La Lie, and Hey Jude's Na 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 at the end. And first of all, I'll ask you, it seemed like an overwhelming victory for the Boxer in this particular case. What was the genesis of you deciding to do this, and were you surprised at the reaction?
I was surprised that like 50 people commented on it, yes. And I guess I wasn't too surprised that the Boxer got it because someone pointed out that was very carefully orchestrated by Paul Simon and his producer engineer Roy Halley. So, I mean, it didn't follow this like English folk tradition. It's almost like a chorale, and just the way it came to an end. You know, it's like a plane landing very softly and carefully. And the Beatles was more like this bunch of people sitting around the studio. It almost feels a little more impromptu, spontaneous. So, I don't know. I was listening to the Boxer that night, and it just occurred to me that Hey Jude popped into my head, and I was, talking to my wife about it. And so I just sort of, as an afterthought, innocuously put it up. And I was surprised at how many people had an opinion on it. And it was probably 8-1 for the Boxer. But yeah, I mean, those moments where there are no lyrics, but I know the people were throwing in like, The Lion Sleeps Tonight and the Weemawa.
Right.
Other moments where you're just saying syllables and singing along. But those are some of the best moments in a song,
So, well, unfortunately, somebody decided to put steam and na 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 na, hey, 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 goodbye there. I didn't think much of that. But anyway, I absolutely positively remember the exact time when I first heard Hey Jude, which was released in 1968. My family and I were driving to the beach at Cape Cod. And just as we started driving, the DJ was promoting the fact that at 3 o'clock they were going to release the new Beatles single, and he must have said it 50 times. And maybe it was the build-up or whatever, but the song came on and it did nothing for me. I mean, I was like, what? Yeah. I waited for 2 hours to hear that, and which is probably heresy, but it's so funny how a moment like that can really generate in your mind.
Sure. Well, you think about it, I mean, without the ending, it's just sort of another McCartney piano ballad, up there with, I mean, not even as good as Maybe I'm Amazed, yeah, I think the ending sort of really brings it home. But I remember hearing that for the first time, and I loved it because we were all, my whole family was just Beatle maniacs, so that's always been one of my favorite songs.
Yeah, I've gained appreciation for it over the years, but maybe, I don't know. Maybe it was the 2 hours of build-up that killed it for me. So
yeah, oversold it.
Yeah, well, I'll sort of turn that into something right after the break that we'll talk about as we visit with Tim Finn once again, taking our musical journey. I don't want to go all Jim Ladd on you, but if you ever do listen to Sirius and Deep Tracks is a channel 27. And he's on it, and he gives some of the most elaborate build-ups to songs that you'll ever hear in your life, no doubt about that. We continue next right here on Arts and Lifestyle Wednesday, presented by Cinematic Visions and Danny and Tim's Music Scene.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
We're here with Joe Spiker, the CEO and president of Easton Roofing. And, Joe, you had a great year in 2019, a record year. 2020 comes, things are moving smoothly along, and then the coronavirus comes. But your company seemed to be very ready, very proactive, and very ready to serve your customers well.
Yeah, we adopted social distancing very early before the cities even put out the notices. And we started working from home. We are largely cloud-based as a company, so that transition was easy. Our technicians are wearing masks and gloves, and salespeople are not meeting with homeowners. We're doing everything digitally and doing everything we can to do our part to get over this as quickly as possible.
So for any needs that people have right now, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, you can always call us, 913-257-5426. But the best way is to go to eastonroofing.com, put your information in, and we'll give you a call.
Easton Roofing. Integrity matters.
For many people, a family law case will be one of the most difficult experiences in their life. The law firm of Kenneth McRae will help you through it. Personal and effective help from Ken in concert with you will develop a unique strategy for your unique case. As Ken always says, divorce can be civil law, not civil war. Licensed in Kansas? Visit McCraeLawOffice.com or call 913-972-4765.
I'm here with Tim Emerson, the owner of Emerson & Company. And Tim, give us an idea of the range of services that you provide from Emerson & Company.
At Emerson & Company, we do credit card processing, payroll services. We do bookkeeping, merchant accounts like point-of-sale systems.
What would you say differentiates you from other companies in the field, and what makes you special?
I think what makes us unique is that we're a small local business making regional decisions on companies. We create a profile for the business and then put it out to our different vendors in a very competitive environment and tailor those needs to the specific business, which usually ends up in a great fit or great result for the company.
And, of course, the idea is to save money, right?
Save money, and actually sometimes I'm surprised where actually a solution that may cost a little bit more ultimately does save money, but we're not conditioned to think like that sometimes.
Emerson & Company. Check them out at emerson-co.com or call them at 816-360-9092. We're visiting with Larry Marshall, former Chiefs defensive back and punt returner and now a Chiefs ambassador. Larry is a former pro football player with the aches and pains that come with that, and moving on in age as we all are. What do the Canaway CBD products do for you?
It's been a great relief for me. Being a punt and kickoff returner, collisions were a mainstay of my career, and these Canaway products, the salve especially, has really helped me try to get through every day with the aches and pains that I've had over a career of 7+ years in the NFL.
I get similar benefits as well, particularly with my back. Certainly wasn't a football player. What's the best way for our listeners to get more information about the great products themselves?
Well, I'm so enthused about it, Dana. If they just contact me at larrymarshall.canaway.com, and I can give them all the information they need to help them get through the day as well.
Start gaining all the benefits that Larry and I do from the trusted and reliable line of Canaway products. As Larry said, visit larrymarshall.canaway.com and get information on all the great products from Canaway. If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at danny@dannyclinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Back with Tim Finn. Always a pleasure to be talking music as we try to work our way maybe towards some kind of normalcy in the music scene, and little steps are being taken as we move along the way, and seemingly always at the forefront of these things locally is Knuckleheads, and they're kind of maybe taking a further step forward right now.
Yeah, so, Frank's been throwing these, free all-day jams on the weekend, and like this weekend he's got an 80s dance band, the M80s are playing. There's a karaoke night on Thursday, but Saturday, so he's doing his usual Saturday open jam that starts at noon, and then goes till 5 or so that's all day, and then he's got a really, a normal, full-blown headlining show Saturday night with Paul Thorne, who's a great story. If you don't know him, look him up. He's a former boxer from, I think he's from Louisiana, definitely from the South. He's a great storyteller, and it's sort of folksy blues, acoustic blues, really great entertainer. He's come down here and played 3 nights in a row, Friday, Saturday, and then does a Sunday brunch. So he's on the bill, and so is Danielle Nicole, who used to be in Trembled Underfoot. She's an amazing singer, was a Grammy nominee last year. And so that's like 2 shows in one. And it's, Saturday night starts at 7-ish. So doesn't say which venue it's in. It's probably going to be the biggest one, so we can get as many people as we can in there and still abide by whatever distancing rules there are now. I'm not sure how those have changed recently, but it had been 10% of capacity. And it was due to go up to 20 or 25. So we'll see. But yes, Frank is going forward deliberately and carefully, and we'll keep an eye on him.
Yeah, I think, the percentages, and now basically I think in Missouri, the restrictions are basically suggestions now, not things that I think are going to be, adjudicated or whatever. And so I guess it's sort of up to people. I think what we're going to see really is more what the public reaction is to these things,
Right.
more than anything else. And what we're already seeing is, in places that really kind of went ahead of the curve and opened up is where we're seeing spikes in cases, like in Florida and Texas, and in the sports world, those things are resonating as well that we see. So, this is going to be maybe an unbelievably long process, and it's gotten so political, and people, I think, wear things as a badge of honor, maybe on both sides, but certainly on one side. So it's really difficult to tell what the future is going to bring in this particular thing.
Yes, I mean, it's going to come down to how many artists, performers are willing
Right.
to put themselves out there, how many fans are willing to take the risk. I'm with you. It seems like now more people are starting to act like, oh, we're through it, we're on the other side of it, when clearly we're not. When I see it now in just groceries and grocery stores and other places where mask wearing is becoming less and less
Absolutely.
evident. And I don't know. I mean, the experts are saying, no, we're not even through the first wave yet, and cases are going up in more than half the states, or either, 21 out of 50 states, they're going up, and then 8 others, it's staying the same, so they're not going down. So it's clearly not going away everywhere.
It seems like the places that are having the best success stories right now are the ones that had the worst cases, and obviously that was accompanied by the fact that they had the tightest restrictions and people paid the most attention to what they were doing. So that, in my mind, of course, everybody thinks these are political statements now, should be a lesson. The places that were the worst took it the most serious, had the tightest restrictions, and now they are the ones who are succeeding on the other side the best. It seems like common sense to me, but I don't know.
Well, yeah, and but even some places, like I think I read Nashville is restoring some of its closed down orders for 2 weeks because they noticed that the number of cases was going up and the number of people being hospitalized is going up. So they dialed it back, which is going to be really hard to do because once people are accustomed to going to their favorite restaurant, they don't want to be told, no, you can't, you have to stay home again. So I think you have to be really cautious about deciding that it's safe to go out. And I'm not sure what the bar situation is. I know some places around here are open, but I don't think I see people sitting around the bar as much as there's the tables, that are spaced very carefully apart. So I don't even know what that situation is now. I haven't been into a bar restaurant in forever, so pretty much just go to the grocery store. That's about it.
Well, my only little story about that, I wrote a blog yesterday about spending the weekend taking a little road trip and doing some errands for my wife and using up a Airbnb we had in Council Grove, and I went to a little place there, and there was zero social distancing and masking, I'll say that. I sat in the corner by myself and watched a little musician play, and it was kind of a fun scene, but it was like, okay, everything's cool, we're done. But that's,
right.
But also perhaps more understandable in a small town where they may have had like no cases whatsoever. So, it's
that's true.
Very complicated. Go ahead.
I'm starting to wonder, how willing or ready some of us will be to go back to the way it was. I saw a Facebook memory on my page today where there was a Boulevardia down in the West Bottoms a couple of years ago. A rainstorm came through, and it was a pretty dangerous thunderstorm, severe storm, so they herded everyone into the parking garage, and one of the band's Guster set up. And I took a video of it. There's like 200 people in a really small place. And just watching that made me anxious because it's like, I can't imagine doing that right now. That just seems so far off. And so I think there's going to be some transitioning for a lot of people before they feel really secure about just how safe the environment is.
We were talking about our feelings about the Doors and the maneuverings of those type of things. What it made me think about is that I think people famously, if they know me at all, know that one band that most people really, really love that I can't stand is Pink Floyd. I can't even listen to I think I think Money's about the only song I can somewhat stomach, but that's just a personal, horrible affliction that I have because so many people love Pink Floyd. Is there any band that fits into that category for you? That somebody that, generally people really, really love and think is great, and you just don't get it.
Yeah. I would say Smashing Pumpkins.
Okay.
I mean, I understand why people love them a lot. The Melancholiness and Sadness got some good songs on it. I like some of their stuff, but generally, no thanks. And it's sort of like some foods you don't like because of the texture, or it's kind of like that for me. I think Lee Corgan's really very talented, really smart. I've interviewed him a couple times. He's kind of a jerk, but that's a band adore, and has been a major influence on a lot of music fans and musicians. But I can kind of, I don't think I ever play them. I hear them only because someone else is playing them. And I rarely put on any of their music, and I can say I hate them, but it's just like, no, I'll pass. No thanks.
No thanks. Well, that's one thing that's so great about music is that there's been a million what most people would consider bad songs that sold millions of records, so somebody liked them, and I don't think either Pink Floyd or the Smashing Pumpkins fall into that type of category. Certainly, they're fine musicians and fine bands, but it's all a matter of taste, Tim. That's why we get together every couple of weeks, right?
Sure, that's right. We always find something to talk about.
Even in these uncertain times. Tim, thanks a lot.
Okay, thanks, Dan.
This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like Easton Roofing, the presenting sponsor of Kansas City Profiles at the Danny Kling Scale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Kling Scale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new.